Hey YouTube, Aiden here. Reminder, if you want to lesson with me, check the link in the description. I have plenty of time to give lessons, and I would like to think that a lot of other people probably have lots of time to get lessons. So check it out. You don't have to if you go to the link. Moving on, I've actually bought some new stuff. No, I'm not making a lot of money, but I still have some money, and I have a couple things on the way, like my bass trombone is being worked on. My other one is being built next week. My tech, Ben, is going to put a bunch of work in. Might actually get done. Really super excited about that, but that's not here yet. I'm not going to talk about that. I also have a contra mouthpiece being made by Doug Elliott. Actually have an entire contrabass mouthpiece, but it's awful. I only want the rim. The rest of the mouthpiece, the cup and the shank, they're all detachable parts. This is Doug Elliott. The cup and shank are like just the absolute worst sizes possible. So I have a new cup and shank on the way. And I happen to buy this Shilky 60D Custom. So I didn't bring in my normal Shilky 60 like an idiot. The normal 60 does look like this on the outside. There's no external difference. Of course, mine is the long shank, and this has a short shank. The long shank is like that much longer, but this would be the same as a short shank on the outside. The only difference I can tell is, one, it's a little deeper. The 60 by itself is not the deepest bass trombone mouthpiece out there. It is pretty deep, so the 60D is quite deep, and the rim is a totally different profile. This actually feels very similar to my Greg Black's, my Greg Black 1Gs. It's about the same size too, whereas the 60 feels maybe a tiny bit smaller. So really interested in this. It plays quite badly on this instrument. I think it's an okay mouthpiece, but this thing is so picky. We'll talk about it in a second. Just really cool. The guy sold it to me said that it was the original prototype for the 60 CV, which is what Charlie Vernon played, a 60 CV and a 61 CV. And some of those mouthpieces had no lead pipe shank, so they wouldn't have this shank. They would have one even bigger that would fit in straight to the slide tube with no lead pipe, because he played that way for quite a long time. This is not that way. I'm thinking this might just be a 60D, which is just a deeper Shilky 60, and I think the custom part may have to do with the rim. I'm really not sure. Just kind of a cool mouthpiece, and it wasn't that expensive, so maybe once I get my orchestral horn, I can try this out. On bass trombone, I have changed mouthpieces again. I've just been kind of not enjoying bass trombone very much. I'm playing this, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to put my ego aside for a moment, because I have an ego. I want to play big mouthpieces because people I like play big mouthpieces. And so I got all my smaller mouthpieces out and played them. And in some ways I was like, wow, these are actually better. There's something I'm missing with my 93D, the Lasky 93D I've been playing. But they are a little too small, and I can't deal with that. Like, over a short period of time, I'm like, yeah, this is kind of cool. And then I'm like, wow, this is actually a little more work, a little more effort to just kind of like keep everything dialed in, like below the staff, and I don't really want to do that. So I went to my kind of medium piece, Yamaha Doug Yo. Guess what? It finally won. And honestly, I think a little bit of this is me. Maybe I should be playing smaller mouthpieces, and I'll find that out when I get my other horn soon enough. But I think this horn is just super picky. It's weird. It wants to play with a big dual bore slide, but it wants a small lead pipe, and it wants a smaller mouthpiece. The mid register especially is really just kind of like the third partial, F down to B, is really not fun to play with when the mouthpiece is too big or too open. And this just kind of dials everything in, makes the high range just a little more solid. The low range doesn't really take a hit. The Yo has a weirdly good low range and pedal range. The rim is a little smaller than I would like to play, but for now I will deal. I think in the future, I think this is just going to be the mouthpiece that I played this instrument with. My other bass, I have a feeling stuff like this, maybe a little bit less efficient mouthpieces, will actually work better in the other instrument, which kind of seems like the opposite. Maybe the jazz horn that's supposed to be all tight and punchy would be better with a larger mouthpiece. This one is just so picky that it only wants to play with just a little bit smaller stuff. And I could be wrong, and that's all me, and I just need to play smaller equipment. But it's really kind of strange how much of a difference that made just on this instrument. I also switched mouthpieces on. Oh, that's awkward. This is not a water space. On my large tenor trombone, instead of using the Greg Black Alessi 3.5M that I have for quite some time now, actually, I have changed to my Bach 3G. It's just a 3G. It's not a normal 3G though. This is a Corp 3G. You can see the Corp there at the end with the period. This says 3G, of course, but this is a tiny 3G. The actual rim size is maybe like a 3.5 in today's standards, maybe even just like a straight up 4G. It's quite small, and the cup is way, way, way smaller, and you might even be able to see that. Way, way, way smaller than a normal modern 3G. It's kind of like a Bach 3GS. The throat is not that small. It's the same size, 276, I think, as all the other ones. It just plays quite well, especially in the high range. Let's see if I can play it all. Yeah, I can play okay. I have not played this yet today. That felt okay. But it just, overall, it's just a little bit easier to play, and the rim is really comfortable, and it's not rounded like the Greg Black Alessi rim. I love that mouthpiece, and like 40% of the time, it feels great, and I can do anything on the instrument. But 60% of the time, I'm trying to get to that 40%, and I'm just like putting in way too much effort, and nothing works, and I miss all these notes, and I just get really frustrated. And so for now, I'm using this 3G. I like this sound. I don't love this sound. It's a little bit smaller. It is more tenor trombone-y. Maybe someone would enjoy that. I don't hate the sound. I really enjoy the sound of the Alessi more, though, and I kind of plan on sending the Alessi mouthpiece to Greg Black or Doug Elliott and having him cut the rim off and put on a similarly sized rim that I can deal with, one that's more comfortable. And maybe that'll end up being a really cool tenor mouthpiece. For now, playing in this tiny closet, the 3G is doing the trick. So even in this period of stagnation where I'm not actually playing any gigs and I'm just practicing, I've managed to change mouthpieces on like 3 instruments, and I have more on the way and another horn and all sorts of other stuff. So interesting times nonetheless. Reminder, if you want to listen with me, check the link, and I'll see you guys next time.